Hey everyone, Christina Tali. We are back finally for season 2 of That Trans Geek Girl. I am your host as always, Christina Tali, and we do have a lot to talk about today. So let's get started. Hey everyone, Christina Tali. We are back for season 2, like I said before. And we have so much to talk about and so much to do and everything else. Today's episode will be on The Last Jedi. However, we do have other things to talk about. I may have a special guest later, I may not. You have to keep tuned in to see. So, first thing I actually want to talk about before we get into it is my own personal life. As you can see from behind me, this is not the same area I was recording in before. That's because I have since moved. In the 4 months I was off. I have a much nicer place now. I have my own place, no roommate to interrupt or anything else. So this is all bonus and this is all positive. Next point I wanted to talk about is Disney's acquisition of 21st Century Fox. And what does that mean exactly? 21st Century Fox used to be 20th Century Fox, as we all know. 20th Century Fox was the first thing you saw when you watched the original trilogy. Big news. Also, 20th Century Fox owns the rights to quite a bit of fandom too, including Firefly, which is one of my other personal favorite fandoms, as well as part of the Marvel Universe, which, if anyone knows, they own X-Men and they own Deadpool. And at this point, as well as some others as well, but does that mean that Disney is actually making a conscientious effort to bring back the MCU as a whole? This is one of the things we're going to have to wait to see and find out. So let's get into Star Wars: The Last Jedi, shall we? Because this is the movie event of the year. This is what I was waiting for all year. And honestly, I was not disappointed. There were a couple scenes that that didn't seem right, so to speak. Major one was the whole Leia scene where she got blasted out in space and brought herself back to the ship using the Force. That was, I don't know what it was about that scene. It seemed a little contrived and it seemed a little much. I should have said earlier, but I am. There will be spoilers on this, which is fine. I laughed hysterically during this movie. The Porgs, they were funny. The whole scene with Chewie eating the Porg and the other ones giving those like crazy cry pout faces looking at him as he's eating a shish kebabbed Porg was definitely good comic relief. Luke Skywalker as a crabby old man, a failed old man, whatever you wanted to call him, it was funny. I mean, the whole scene, we were waiting to see what would happen when Rey handed Luke the lightsaber, and the fact Luke took it, looked at it for a minute, and then threw it over his shoulder and walked away. I don't think anyone was expecting that. And that's something which we kind of needed with this movie, because a lot of people complained that episode 7, if you remember, oh, it was just like episode 4. In a lot of ways it was. And this, we needed a fresh change. We needed a new movie, and that's something we got with episode 8. I will not lie, I cried like a baby when Luke passed away. That was incredibly sad. Trying to think, the whole battle scene on the planet that bleeds, that was pretty intense. With those old, I guess they're sand gliders or wherever they were. They found at the old abandoned rebel base. That was pretty incredible battle. Even though I do feel that Finn's moment that he finally found courage was definitely cheapened by Rose attempting to save him. Moving on. Other than that, I mean, out of all, if I have to rate this movie on a scale of, 0 to 10, 10 obviously being the best, 0 being the worst, I'll give this movie about an 8.5 to a 9. Like I said, there were a couple spots. I understand that the original movie was nearly 3 hours long, and they cut it down to what it was, even though it was a long movie. It was really awesome. Like I said, I love the movie. I actually am planning to go back and see it again, probably in about a couple weeks if I can. There's been a lot going on, like I said, in my life. I had to go see it though the day it came out because I wouldn't have done myself any justice if I didn't. Uh, it was, like I said, an incredible movie. I loved it. I recommend it. I think it's a very welcome part to the canon. However, I know there's a lot of people that disagree with me, and that's something we will get into in a little bit later in the show. Um, I mean, other than that, there's not really much else to say about it. It's an incredible movie. It's kind of nice being wrong about fan theories, even though there was the scene during the battle scene after, well, right before the battle scene with Kylo and when Kylo kills Snoke. I will honestly say for a minute I was like jumping up in the theater about, yes, I was right, because I've always said that, Kylo could be redeemed. Kylo could be saved. And when he killed Snoke, I thought that was his redeeming moment. However, he fucked it up. Let's be honest, he completely screwed it up. After he battled with Rey, which was just a beautifully choreographed scene and just an amazing scene in general. And all of a sudden, he turns around, he puts his hand, and he's like, "Oh, we need to get rid of the old people so I can rule the galaxy." It was just like, no, why? Why did you do this? And unfortunately, that's pretty much what happened there. It was just in one of those moments where he actually thought for a minute that, hey, Kylo can be redeemed. And yet, he screws it up. I still stand by my earlier statements that Kylo is not completely dark side. He is evil, but he is not dark side. And the reason why I say this, and you guys can talk about this in the comments. Tell me if you feel I'm right and wrong. If you remember from episodes 1 to 3, I know we don't talk about those episodes too much, but they are canon, and they did show that when somebody goes dark side, they go through physical changes. Their eyes change. Their eyes change to a red or yellowish color. Their skin pales out. You can see the changes in them from the dark side power. Kylo hasn't had any of those changes. If you look at him, his eyes are brown. His skin is still normal complexion. So there's something else going on here. I mean, you don't have to be full dark side to be evil. And it's been kind of interesting to see how this will actually pan out in episode 9. And this is one of the things I am very, very curious about, to see what happens in episode 9. I did honestly shoot some video before the day I went to go see the movie. However, due to how dark it was outside and the fact that I was leaving work, I had to scrap the footage. Unfortunately, and it's just one of the things that unfortunately do happen in this kind of work. So coming up next, I will be bringing in my special guest. So we'll be right back after this quick little intermission. All right, just as I promised earlier or hinted to, we actually have a special guest. So introducing the man of opinion himself, the CEO of Realm of the Mist, host of Breaking the Fourth Wall and Journal of the Jedi, Mr. Christopher Stolle.
Co-host of Journal of the Jedi. Ryan Miller's the other host.
Gotcha. Oh, my bad. So the reason I actually drug Chris over here was to talk about the hate that The Last Jedi has been getting recently.
Fuck,
Yes.
Fuck.
And with that, the show goes to hell. But that's
Oh,
okay.
wait a minute. Wait a minute. Were we supposed to be censored?
No, it's not fucking censored.
Okay, good.
Anyway, so the reason I actually brought Chris on the show today is to talk about the hate that The Last Jedi has been getting. There's a petition that is even circulating right now, which is trying to remove Star Wars The Last Jedi as canon material. Which, I mean, my opinion is ridiculous, but I wanted to get somebody else's opinion on this as well. So I'm going to let Chris speak.
Well, first and foremost, I'm going to start with a Facebook meme, which really it's a Facebook meme, but at the same time, it kind of sums up the way I feel about it in general. The meme basically states that if you got your way and got the petition to pass, and Disney actually listened and took away The Last Jedi, you are literally killing the final performance of Carrie Fisher as Princess Leia. Let that sink in.
This is true, and that's one thing people need to forget. I mean, as a whole, like I said earlier, I liked the movie. There was a couple spots that I disliked. I'm sure there's a couple parts that Chris disliked earlier, like I spoke about earlier in the video. Yeah, there are some things I didn't like, mainly the Leia scene, Finn's death being cheapened and being prevented by Rose, things of those aspects. But as a whole, the movie was great. So
the best way I can describe it is like, okay, Attack of the Clones is canon. The Clone Wars movie, not the TV show, the movie, the cartoon movie, is canon. These things were worse than The Last Jedi. If they're canon, leave Jedi alone. It's that simple. Look, a lot of people are having hate towards this film, not because it was a bad film. It was a beautifully shot film. There were some things I would have done differently in it, sure. You know, is it the all-time best Star Wars movie that was ever created? No, it's not Empire Strikes Back. But is it a terrible film? No. The only reason people are bitching about it is because their little fan theories for 2 years didn't come true. Sorry, Rey's not a Skywalker. Snoke's nobody. He was a plot device. Luke is the way Luke is. Deal with it.
Yeah, I have to agree with you there. I think that's a lot of reason why this movie, because I know for a couple of years I'm a member of many Facebook groups for Star Wars, and for 2 years people have been talking about what they wanted to see in The Last Jedi. They wanted to see that, you know, Rey was a Skywalker. I remember even Chris had a theory that she may have been a Kenobi, even,
Actually, my theory was that she was both a Skywalker and a Kenobi.
That's right, but
I felt that Luke found the daughter of Satine and Obi-Wan and had Rey from that. So that was my theory, but you know, it was a theory.
Yeah, I mean, that's what theories are, people. Theories are theories. That doesn't mean they're true. Scientists come up with theories all day long. It doesn't mean they're actually going to be right once they start figuring it out. They went a different direction with this movie. I mean, the other thing as well, everyone complained with Episode 7. Like I said earlier, that Episode 7 was, in fact, you know, so much like Episode 4 that, you know, it was bad. And that's what a lot of people said, even though I also enjoyed Episode 7. And now they're complaining that Episode 8 was so much different than anything else in the Star Wars world. So it's really, the problem is, and I've said this earlier, and Chris, I believe I've said this to you as well, that there is a lot of trolls hiding in the Star Wars fan base. And I will say that out loud. I don't care. It's the truth, though. And I think a lot of this, there were people complaining about the movie before the movie was even released. I mean, what does that tell you right there? The fact that, you know, before people got a chance to experience this movie and watch this movie, they were, oh, this movie sucks. This movie's horrible. This movie shouldn't be canon. I mean, what is that? What is your take on that?
Well, there's a couple takes on it. Number one, there is a lot of trolls, and I believe I stated it to you before we got on air here, that the biggest thing that I'm ashamed of being a Star Wars fan is the Star Wars fandom. Not the movies. I love the movies. I love all the movies. Attack of the Clones and Clone Wars, as I alluded to earlier, were the worst of the Star Wars franchise movies, next to, like, the, you know, if you want to count the holiday specials or the Ewok adventure movies. But even as bad as they are, there are still things that I enjoy about them. And when I sit down to watch a Star Wars marathon, I don't exclude them from what I watch because I'm a fan of Star Wars and the lore of Star Wars. I'm fine with wherever they want to take it. It's their story. It's not mine. The biggest thing I remember is these things are made for kids. You and I were old enough that the original trilogy, that was ours. The prequels were the next gen and now the new gen. My children have this saga. It's made for them. I just get to enjoy it along with them, but it's made for them. It's not my trilogy anymore. It's not my story. It's their story.
And
people seem to forget that.
And it's kind of amazing if you think about it, that a movie has spanned so long now. I mean, we just passed 40 years. Uh-huh. Star Wars, Episode 4 came out 40 years ago. I mean, that said something, and they're still making movies. I mean, granted, there's been pretty large, in between everything, there's been some pretty large gaps in between production, but at the same time, it's something that, well, like you said, like, we enjoyed the originals as kids. I remember Christmas every year getting original Kenner Star Wars toys for Christmas.
Uh-huh.
I remember, like, opening it up and getting the Rancor. I remember getting Jabba's palette. I remember getting the Ewok playset, which, funny enough story, I'm going to just go on a side tangent, that Kenner were so cheap that when Robin Hood came out, from Hood Prince of Thieves with Kevin Costner, they used the exact same playset, changed the color a little bit, and they also did it with a couple other toys as well, such as like the Cantina playset and stuff like that. But yeah, at one point, I had quite a serious Star Wars collection of the original Kenner toys, and unfortunately, I don't have them anymore. I wish I did, because it'd just be nice to still have them. But you name it, I pretty much had it.
There's a place in Quakertown's farmers market that it's an old toy store. It used to be at Zern's, but now it's at Quakertown. They got all the old toys.
Yeah, the problem is
out of box, some out of box, some in box.
But at the same time, you're going to pay out your ass for it now.
They're not too terrible.
Some of the stuff is. I mean, unfortunately.
I replaced my my Emperor Palpatine, which as a kid I had to special order to get. I replaced my Emperor Palpatine. Granted, he's out of box, but I got him for $5.
Yeah, I remember it was a serial order, if I remember correctly.
No, it was a proof of purchase order. You had to get so many character proof of purchases, cut out the back of the box, and mail it in with, like, I think it was like $6, $7.
I don't know, it was so long ago. I just remember I had the same thing. I have the Emperor Palpatine as well. I'm just missing the staff.
So am I, So I'm eBaying the hell out of that staff because I want them complete.
I got a friend of mine who collects. I put them on the case to try to find them. To be honest, I mean, you can see behind me. I have Kenner cards behind me. Granted, they're the second run '90s Kenner cards, the ones they've the vintage collection, but still,
right.
Even those at this point are getting hard to find.
Well, anything Star Wars is. First off, as far as merchandise is concerned, anything with the word Star Wars on it, will become a collector's item.
Even the old T-shirts.
Star Wars toilet paper, you leave that shit in the wrapper because one day it's going to be worth money.
Hey, I have 2 boxes. You know something? Saying that, I actually have 2 boxes of cereal from Episode 7 sitting in my kitchen that have never been opened. And yeah, while I would never open them now because they're expired, I think, in March. But I have the Rey and the Kylo Ren boxes for the Star Wars cereal that came out for Episode 7. So, but let's get back on topic here.
Well, let me say this real quick. It's one of the things that's really pissed me off, and I haven't had a chance to rant on this yet because I've already done the other things before this really happened. I've already done the spoiler review for Realm of the Mist for Journal of the Jedi. I've already done an It Had to Be Said rant about the petition, but I never got a chance to discuss this. Recently, where Rian Johnson had to shut off comments to his Twitter account because of how much hate these supposed Star Wars fans keep sending him. How fucked up is that? Come on, really? The guy made a movie, even if it was a bad movie. Let's argue the point for a minute that the movie was terrible. That they're right, it was a horrible movie. He made a fucking movie. Do you have to send death threats? Do you have to constantly harass and ridicule the man for the rest of his life for a bad movie? Which, by the way, it wasn't a bad movie. It's just your opinion. But Come on, if you want proof of it, you guys always want to constantly use the things like Mark Hamill's interview where he disagreed with the direction of Luke Skywalker. Listen to the full freaking interview, because in the end, he turns around and says, "I was wrong," and I really like what happens with Luke in this movie. Mark Hamill says that, and let's not forget, George Lucas, the creator of fucking Star Wars, loved this movie. He loved it. The guy who created the damn thing loved the movie. Your argument is completely and totally fucking invalid.
Well,
leave the damn guy alone.
As sad as it is, you're talking about that Mark Hamill reversing his earlier comments about the movie. People are saying that Mark Hamill was forced by Disney to make those comments, and we all know
same interview.
Yeah. Which, is ridiculous, because if you think about it, I mean, Mark Hamill's not that kind of person. We've seen how he is. This is somebody who went on his own SoundCloud account and started recording himself reading Trump tweets as the Joker.
Well, Mark, like you just showed me a book with Warwick Davis. Mark, first and foremost, he's a fan of Star Wars. He's a fan. He knows about the prequel trilogy, which he wasn't even in. He knows about the extended universe. He knows about the current canon. He's a fan. If he had something bad to say on this, he would say it. Mark's a troll just like everybody else. He will troll the shit out of something if you don't like it.
Remember episode 7? He was doing that quite a bit. As much as his contract would allow him, he was messing around the entire time. And to find out, when we watched the movie, he showed up for exactly, I think it was like 30 seconds. Didn't even have a speaking part in the movie.
And let me please put this to rest, because people need to understand this. I've stated it on the other videos. I will state it again. Everybody who wants to blame Disney for being disappointed in the new sagas, or the new trilogy, or even the standalones, or whatever the case may be, it's not Disney. Disney only writes the checks. Lucasfilm is still an independent system. They create their own movies. If you want to blame anybody for anything you dislike, you blame Kathleen Kennedy, president and CEO of Lucasfilm. Disney only writes the paychecks. That's all they do. Lucasfilm still operates on its own.
Just like the other entities under Disney still operate on their own. Like even MGM still operates on their own. Mm-hmm. And MGM's been a part of Disney for how many years now? Probably 30, 40 years.
And let's think about all the hits that have come out of MGM. Even under the Disney regime.
Yeah, we'll leave that alone. But you did have Who Framed Roger Rabbit was great.
Right. Now, I'm not saying everything's a gem that comes out of every studio, but I'm just saying, like, people are like we were discussing about 21st Century Fox now being owned by Disney. Worrying about Deadpool. Disney owned Miramax and Dimension. Okay, Miramax and Dimension didn't just make the Crying Game and shit. They made Kevin Smith movies. They made They produced Kevin Smith movies and Scream and The Crow. I think Deadpool's fine.
Yeah, well, actually, I just read an article about that. It's good we're actually talking about this, because remember, I opened up this episode talking about the 21st Century Fox thing. I just read an article that they spoke out, because other people have the same concern about Deadpool, where, as they've already said, they will not do anything to the new Deadpool movie as far as make it more family friendly. And in fact, they are highly interested in doing a Marvel R series.
Right.
So,
which by the way, for everybody who wants to point fingers about like Deadpool being the first R-rated comic book movie, first off, it's not. The Crow was. Watchmen was. But if you want to point out for Marvel, everybody seems to forget Blade, don't they?
Yeah, everyone always does. And Blade was... They weren't Marvel, though. Blade was...
They were still Marvel.
Was it Marvel?
Marvel fanfare, yeah.
So
it's got the Marvel fanfare. I don't know if it was Marvel Studios, but it was Marvel.
Yeah. I think that was... I don't remember who even put that movie out at this point. I think that was Miramax, actually.
It might have been. I'm going to look it up. I'm going to look it up.
So we'll get back to you on that one next time. So... seeing that we were talking about it, so how do you feel about Disney purchasing 21st Century Fox, seeing that we're actually on this subject?
Again, I'm looking forward to two things. One, I'm looking forward to a decent Fantastic Four reboot. I'm a person that didn't have a problem with the original first two movies. I hated Fan Four Stick.
Everyone hates Fan Four
Absolutely
Stick.
hated it. That was the biggest insult to comic book fandom, really. To me, that was a worse film than Elektra and freaking Catwoman.
Yeah, that was that. I will honestly say that Fan Four Stick was absolutely ridiculous. I was at Walmart. I'm gonna say this. I was at Walmart like on Friday actually, and I was there getting groceries and some other stuff I needed for the new place. And I always kind of thumb through the $5 DVD bin. We all do. Because it's always like, ooh, what fun thing can we find in here today? And they actually had copies of Fan 4 Stick in there, and I'm like, nope, still too expensive, and threw it back and kept walking. Like, seeing that movie in there made me, just stalled me completely going through the bin. I mean, we all know that going through the bin at Walmart is a chore, but... So, let's get back on topic. So...
I'm listening. I'm looking that up while I'm listening. So
yeah.
Forgive me if I'm not looking.
Yeah, we're going to go back. Let's get back on topic here. Start talking about what we're here to talk about, which is the Last Jedi. So what is would you like to give your review of Last Jedi? Parts you like, parts you didn't like?
I'll recap it again now that I've seen it 7 times. My score is still the same. It's 9.5 out of 10. It was a damn near perfect movie as far as Star Wars lore is concerned. I don't mind the new Star Wars changes to it, like to the Force and stuff of that nature. It's faster and easier for me to hit the dislikes before I go into the likes, so I'll hit that first. Dislike about it, a lot of the humor just didn't hit home for me. Not the fact that there was humor in the movie, just the way they presented the humor. Like, it was either dated for the time period that the movie was filmed in, like like I said to you, the cell phone jokes of the King to Hear Me Now with General Hux and Poe, or it felt inappropriately out of place, like when they were running the salt skiffs on Crate, and as Poe's you got tension building, he's giving out commands, and his foot goes through the bottom panel. Like, to me, it just felt completely out of place and kind of took you out of the moment of what was going on around you. That being said, I don't care that there was humor in them. There's always humor in Star Wars, and usually it's cheesy, campy humor, which is, fitting. So I don't care. It's just in this movie, it didn't seem to hit home. I don't need to go into too much detail about Leia Poppins. I really, really, really am disappointed that that's what they chose to finally show Leia using the Force that we've been waiting for so many times. But at the same time, you know what? I can live with it. It's not what I would have done, but I'm not the guy getting the paycheck to direct the film. And really the whole Finn Rose storylines, particularly in Canto Bight, I was so disappointed in. I expected so much more with it. It was a wasted storyline, and I get some people say, well, that was the point of the storyline, is that some things are pointless. I get that, but it seems like a waste of both the characters. It really didn't allow a great development of Rose as a character, which to me right now it's ranking up there with Jar Jar Binks as far as Star Wars characters are concerned. And really, it's the only purpose that I could see that Canto Bight served was a public service announcement that animal cruelty is bad, is really all I got out of the Canto Bight scene. It's like, I don't need political views within Star Wars. I go to Star Wars to escape reality. You know what I mean? I'd rather be in that galaxy far, far away and deal with their politics than have my politics thrown back at my face when I paid $10, $12 to see the film. That all aside, the movie was beautifully shot. John Williams gave a phenomenal score. Rey, Kylo, and Luke gave a phenomenal performance. I love the character developments and arcs of each of those characters. I absolutely love the fact that we got a taste of angry, grumpy Luke drinking green milk off of 4 titty sea cows, and then turning around and proving how powerful he is to force project himself all the way across the galaxy to be able to buy time for the person to literally become the legend of Luke Skywalker that everybody was talking about since Episode 6, whether it's the books or Force Awakens. I really love the fact that we got that. And then in the end, rather than having a lightsaber through the gullet like Han Solo or whatever they may or may not do with Leia now that Carrie Fisher unfortunately passed on, I'm happy Luke got a peaceful ending. I felt that was very perfect to his story arc. All in all, like I said, overall, the biggest thing about this movie that I say about any movie, especially when it comes to Star Wars, but any movie, is in the end, was I entertained? Yeah, I was. Things didn't work out the way I thought they would work out. There was many things I would have done differently, but all in all, I was entertained, and it had me on the edge of my seat, and that's all I needed from the movie.
I agree. So, one more question before we let you go here. So, with episode 9 coming up in a while, I know it's not like next week, but we got a couple of years to wait.
We got Solo.
We got Solo. However, how do you feel about Disney already claiming that they're feeling that Solo will bomb? So, we actually have 2 more things to talk about.
Solo bombing. I mean, I'll be the first one to admit I'm one of those people that's like, I don't need a Han Solo movie. I don't necessarily need Aaron Eisenreich. I don't remember his Eisenberg, whatever his name is, as a young Harrison Ford. But it's a Star Wars movie. I'm going to go see it, and so is every Star Wars fan going to go see it. We're all going to be there opening night. This movie will not flop. Will it make Rogue One or Force Awakens numbers? No, not at all. But will it flop? No. That's just, if Disney's legitimately broadcasting that, it's because they're listening to the trolls and the fake bullshit fans that are just talking trash on a movie for the sake of talking trash on a movie. To me, Han Solo will maybe not be the greatest Star Wars movie ever, but maybe it will be. We don't know. I don't know until I see the film.
Very good point. Okay, final question. So, I was actually leading into this until you brought up Solo, so I just wanted to get your bearings on Solo. So, episode 9, what would
I had to bring some hope to it, which is 2 years before episode 9 is like, but there's Solo. Hey!
So, what do you feel could happen in episode 9? Like, what are your theories for episode 9?
I think, and some of this is going to be good and some of this is going to be bad. I don't think Kylo is going to be redeemable. I don't. I know I just got done picking on the trolls about the Rey being nobody, but I do get the impression that JJ had more plans for Rey. So I think Kylo's lying in the nobody thing and leading her on to make her admit it. I think we're going to find out something, whether it goes back to the freaking fan theories or whatever, again, I don't know. But I just think there's more to it than that.
I agree.
And I do definitely think that we're going to see a Force Ghost Luke. I don't think Mark Hamill's done with the franchise yet.
Oh, we have to.
I definitely think it's going to be set a couple years into the future, and one of 2 things will happen as far as handling Leia. Leia will see off-screen, had already passed on, and now Poe is the leader of the Resistance or the New Rebellion. Or, like, we'll see a ship blown up and, oh my God, General Leia was on there. You know, or, which I think would be the cheapest way of doing it, or, you know, again, a couple of years in the future, and we'll see it in the first paragraph of the crawl that, you know, General Organa has died.
Well, you know, they've also have given permission for Disney to use her digital likeness as well.
But Disney has already stated they won't do it.
True, but that's also another, although highly improbable, we'll see what happens when the movie comes out.
But I think JJ's going to wrap this up, and I think for the people that bitch about like things didn't answer the way they wanted or there was no answers in The Last Jedi, let's remember The Last Jedi is the second chapter of a trilogy. Things wrap up in episode 3. Or, in this case, 9.
I mean, and look at the other 2. I mean, if you actually... I will say one thing before I let you go as well. I remember the crawl coming up on the screen, and I'm sitting there, and as soon as I'm reading, I'm like, wow, really? Did they just completely bite off of episode 5 on this one? because just the crawl made it feel like it was the exact same movie as like they were going to go for the exact same movie. So it was a pleasant that it wasn't.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, I saw parallels to Episode 5 and Episode 6 in Last Jedi, but it was minor things like Rey and Kylo riding up the elevator to Snoke's chamber. That was so Vader and Luke going to the Emperor in the second Death Star. You know, so I mean that's absolutely fine, but people just need to stop analyzing the shit out of these movies. It's fun to speculate. It's fun to fan theory. But in the end, stop building yourself up for failure. First off, we're never, ever, ever going to get the original trilogy again. That was lightning in the bottle. It's never going to happen again. So rather than constantly comparing everything to the original films, why not just enjoy that we still have Star Wars and we still have stories and we could share this with the next generation and the generation after that? Is that so hard?
I agree fully. Okay, so I want to thank Chris for coming on the show tonight.
Welcome back to Realm of the Mist.
Thank you. Good to be back finally. So we'll be back after this quick little break.
Later.
All right, so I'm going to give my fan theories for episode 9 before everything goes. You know, Chris just gave his in that previous segment, and I will give mine. So, yeah, I do have to agree, I do think Rey will be something more than just a nobody from Jakku. Just because I just don't feel it's just kind of a letdown. So we'll see what happens in episode 9. I do think Luke will be popping up as a Force ghost from time to time, just like Ben popped up in episode 5 and was talking to Luke in episode 4 and popped up in episode 6. So I do believe that those will happen and that will be a thing. I still have to go on the unpopular opinion that Kylo could possibly be saved or can turn. Because like I stated earlier, you know, he's not dark side yet. He's definitely not dark side because he does not have the eyes. He does not have the physical transformations that are canon for somebody who is truly dark side. So that's pretty much it. And I think Chewie made another porg here or there. So other than that, I think that's all we have time for tonight. I want to thank Chris Stolle for showing up for the show today. I'd like to just thank everyone for watching the first episode in 4 months of Trans Geek Girl. And I'd like to wish everyone a good night, and we will see you guys soon with our next video. So remember to like, subscribe, and comment. Tell me what you like or what you didn't like. I want to make this show the best I can, so let me know. Until then, have a good day and Happy New Year, everyone.
かりしてる最中誰にも心触らせたくなくてほっぺつり上げて笑顔取り繕うために何をしようかのプランで愛を歌う並べただけの単語に意味なんかないのさそれでいいのさこの気持ちに気づいてしまう前に